Well, today's the 8th of June. I'm all on my own now. Anita's gone off to England, but I'm down in Palmanova, and it's evening. It's about 7:10. I'm just going to go for a walk, and temperature's a bit lower today, so it's not too bad to walk in the sun. Even though it's 7:10 in the evening, there's still a few people out on the beach, and even some people still sitting on or lying on the sunbeds. And there's quite a few boats out there, some nice yachts. We're just going to have a little walk along, see what we can see. Big bendy buzz. So every now and again you'll see some adverts for the tennis tournament, which is going to be held here. It's the Mallorca Championship, 18th to the 25th of June. And that, I believe, will be held in Santa and become something of quite an event. Get some big stars. Of course, Mallorca has their own big star, Rafa Nadal, who has just won the Paris French Open for the 14th time, was it? I don't have my Anita with me tonight, so you'll have to fact check me yourself. She's always saying, "Oh, you got this right, you got that wrong." But she's not with me tonight. She's all the way off in England. I'll tell you a bit about that in a moment. But yeah, the temperature's sort of dropped a little bit today. It's a few degrees cooler. It's been a little bit cloudy. I don't know if you'd call it cloudy. There are clouds up there, but there's blue skies as well, so it's sort of a hazy cloud. And for many, that's probably a little bit of respite. Weather forecast for this coming weekend is that the temperatures are going to start going back up again, particularly on the mainland, where they're looking at another heat wave. Temperatures going up towards 40. It won't get that hot, I don't think, here. You never know, but probably well into the 30s. So great if you like it hot. If not, you're going to have to keep in the shade. So Anita's back in England for a while. She's went back this morning, middle of the night it was. It was not exactly this morning. So we were at the airport at about 3 o'clock this morning. So it was difficult to decide whether it was night or morning. But it was very, very quiet. We drove along the motorway and there was virtually no cars, which is really unusual. But at that time in the morning, I suppose it's not to be expected. It's to be expected. And when we got to the airport, the park dropping off area was deserted. There were 3 police cars and that was it. So I dropped Anita off, and in through security she went. And just spoken to her just before I came out, and she said no problem at all here in Palma. Sailed through the security, no queues, nothing. And she decided she'd have a coffee before she went to the gate, so she had a coffee. And she sat near to a lady of a similar age who was drinking a bottle of wine. And I guess it depends which way you look at it. It's either very early in the morning or very late at night. So Anita was having her early morning coffee and the lady was having a late night cup. So from where she had the coffee, she then had to move through to the gates, and to get there you've got to go through passport control, and that was very straightforward as well. As you go through passport control now, you get your passport stamped normally, but because we're residents we don't have to have them stamped. And so Anita said, gave her residence card to show this is a resident. Still needed to see the passport, and that needed to be scanned, but no stamp in the passport. Now, I've just been reading a letter sent to the Majorca Bulletin, it used to be the Daily Bulletin, from someone in Ibiza, and they said they'd travelled twice in the last few weeks or few months, and on both occasions the passport was not stamped on exit. And now getting a little bit concerned about that, because he's now got 2 stamps that say he's come into the country and no stamps to say he's actually left. And because of Brexit, there's a 90-day rule, and if you stay in the European Union for more than 90 days, then all sorts of things can be happened. You can be kicked out of the country and you can be not allowed back in. So he's a little bit concerned about what his situation is. I don't know the answer. My guess is that the stamp is actually a record for you, and it's a visual record for anybody looking at your passport, but the actual record is surely going to be the scan, the fact that your passport was scanned on the way in and scanned on the way out. They've got a computer record of when you were here and when you left. So hopefully that's the situation for him. He doesn't really need to worry about it, but I don't know the true answer. I've got some steps to go up now, so I'm just going to turn the camera off. Quick look back down to the first beach there. Sea looking very inviting. Just a few ripples. Quite a few people actually paddling and actually swimming in the sea. So while she was in the airport, fairly quiet at those times of the day, so no issues particularly. She didn't have to wear a mask. Nobody was wearing a mask apparently in the airport. When they got on the plane, everyone had to wear a mask, and that seems to be different depending on which airlines you're travelling with. Some of the people we've spoken to here have said they didn't have to wear a mask on the plane at all, so that's pretty curious. She had her booking was with Ryanair. It ended up being a Niki Lauda flight, so I don't know what the difference is, but anyway, it was a Lauda flight and they were told to wear masks. The flight itself was pretty much full, and she flew to Bristol, delayed about 20 minutes, half an hour maybe in taking off, but most of that time was made up, and they managed to arrive more or less on time, maybe 10 minutes late or so. But that was quite perfect, because Serena, who was meeting Anita, just pulled up into the short-term pick-up point and just went into the airport, and there was Anita just walking out. Usually when we're traveling, we travel very light, and Anita did very well. She traveled exceptionally light this time, with just one little bag. She's only going for a few days, and she's spending all those few days with Serena, and we do have some clothes there and some the necessary cosmetics that Anita needs. They're already there, so we're in that lucky situation that we don't need to take a lot of stuff. So Anita just takes a small rucksack, and that also cuts down on the cost when you're travelling, of course. He's coming round to the second beach, which looks equally busy, equally beautiful. Advertising boat trips here. And now I'm going down some steps. Anita will be saying, be careful, watch your step. I'm just going to turn the camera off so you don't watch me fall. Well, I managed it without too much difficulty. Down to beach level. The volleyball players out. It's quickly coming to the end of term for me. So school this week is what we refer to as exam week, where my students are high school students. In the UK, that's year 7 right through to year 13, but years 11 and 13 are exam groups. They're on study leave at the moment because they're in the middle of GCSEs and A-levels. AS class, that's year 12, they've already done their exams, they're back to normal lessons. But the other classes, that's year 7, 8, 9 and 10, they're on exam week, which means that all of this week, and part of next week actually, is taken up with exams, end of year exams. The children are having a great time. Just kidding. Just going past the Hotel Tropico, people were asking about that, and I can never really comment from first-hand experience, only what people have said, and people have said it's an okay sort of hotel. It's not a luxury hotel by any means, but it serves the purpose. And what better position can you possibly want than right across the road? Hello, how are you? How's things? Yeah, how long have you been here? I'll switch this off. Always nice to stop and chat to someone who's been watching the videos, and they're a couple from Northern Ireland, and they tell me they had no problems getting here at all either. So the issues to do with travelling here seem to be with certain airports. It seems to be the bigger airports, the Manchesters and the Gatwicks and Birmingham maybe. And the smaller airports seem to have less of a problem. So in the evenings, it's now 7:25, we have some market stalls that have set up and selling sort of artisan jewellery type things here, blasting out some music, which is not good for me, and another jewellery store. But it's nice to have something, as you're walking along the promenade, you've got something to look at. So these are just setting up. Here's the airport bus. So if you have to make your own way from the airport, A11 is the bus you want, and that will bring you all the way into Palmanova. And better if you pay by card, I'm told. Again, it's not something I've ever used myself, but if you tap your card, I think you tap it in and tap it out. There'll be instructions as you get on the bus, but far cheaper than going by taxi, especially if you're on your own or just a couple. Have a caricature painted, or you can have your hair braided. If you're looking for information and you're here, then I suppose your first port of call has got to be the hotel reception if you're in a hotel, and they will usually have answers to most of your questions, or at least a leaflet with the answers. If not, this place in front of you is definitely the place to go. This is the Tourist Information Office. So someone was asking me about getting information. This is where I would recommend you go, and they will have lots of information. I'm not sure what their opening times are. Closed at the moment, but normally open from 9 o'clock in the morning till 6. That's in the high season, so that's where we are now. So 9 in the morning till 6 in the afternoon, and they've got maps and all sorts of leaflets and things telling you what's going. You can get a weekly newspaper in there, which will have some guides to what's going on. And just as I'm talking, it has the bus timetables posted on, so you don't even have to go in. You can just look on there, and you've got the various timetables for different routes that are going from Palmanova. It's extremely useful. Get all your information there. Not sure how far I'm going to walk this evening. I don't have Anita pushing me along. And I've still got to go and do some shopping. I didn't leave school till 20 to 6 today. Nothing really to go home for, so I'll just stay at school to finish off some of my work. I don't like taking work home, I'd rather stay at school and get it all finished, so that's what I did. I'm just going past the Paradise Beach. It's one of the places we actually stopped a week or so ago, and Leapy Lee was on singing that evening, so we did stop by and said hello to. And saw him again last week because he was performing at the Jubilee celebrations in Santa Ponsa, Queen's Jubilee. One of the great characters of the island. A great entertainer. You see him frequently at different occasions. Like they've been out trimming the trees again. They're looking particularly good and really useful for providing shade as you walk along the promenade. So it's coming up to 7:30 now, and you can see just how clean the promenade is. It's really well kept. And someone was asking me about toilets, so here are toilets. Ladies, gents, and there's a disabled one in the middle, and it's 50 cents for to use the toilet. 50 cents, so yeah, make sure you got yourself a 50 cent coin with you. I'm just going past the Calablanca Hotel. Looking very busy on the terrace there. Neighbour of ours from, and we used to live in Portals, and lived in Portals for 20 years, but we still see him from time to time. But he always used to work here. He's retired now. We used to work at the Calablanca, so we used to see him as we walked past. He used to live across the road from us and helped us with some gardening tips many times. In fact, he helped us plant a banana tree once. We never managed to grow any bananas. We don't quite have the climate for it. Rogers. Cafe Rogers. Not one we've stopped at yet. Barbuda next to it is one we do go to now and again. We always have a nice meal there. When Paul and Angela used to come, it was one of their favourites, so we'd always go with them. Paul being my uncle, who died sadly during COVID, but not because of COVID. In there. I've just been reading, it was on Facebook, probably on one of the groups on Facebook, that someone had been to the Diana Beach Club, and certainly enjoyed it as a family place to go for a meal. And she said it was a place they would go back to. See, the toys are floating in the water there. Go and get towed around the bay. Don't think that's for me. Just coming up to Santa Lucia. Lots of people tell me they're coming here at some point during the summer, and one particular family that are coming, that's Sean and her mum Claire, and the days are counting down, so looking forward to seeing you in it's only just about a month's time now, I suppose. And luckily they're coming just before we leave. We go back to the UK, so we'll be able to see them before we go. Busy at the restaurant, people having their evening meal. I guess they'll be out. I'm going to walk along the promenade like I am. Some lovely boats out there today. In the distance there's some really big ones. I haven't brought my camera with me, the lens, zoom lens, so I can't actually show you them, but they are quite big out there on the horizon. And I've just been reading that one of the biggest yachts in the world is actually in the waters around Mallorca at the moment, and it's owned by David Geffen. It's not really, for me, well anyway, not a very well-known name. He's a record producer, film producer, and he also, the thing that I know him for is DreamWorks, who made lots and lots of films. But he's one of the richest Americans in the world, and he's got one of the biggest boats in the world to go with it. So the story about him was that when COVID hit, his self-isolation was on his boat with 45 crew, and he just went sailing. So if you can, why not? And he did. So good luck to him. I guess it's easy to be jealous about these people, but he's made his money, and if he's employing 45 people on his crew, then he's providing them with wages, and they're spending that money, and so the money goes round. And he's got to pay for fuel, he's got to pay for servicing, he's got to pay for lots of other things. So the money goes round. So it's good for society that's actually spending the billions that he's got. I wouldn't mind some of them myself, but one day. So Shauna, here we are, just walking around Santa Lucia. The barbecue place is smelling really good. That's just over there, the barbecue place. We saw some people actually in the barbecue place the other day, and they said they'd had such a great meal. So if you don't fancy your meal at the Santa Lucia, then maybe it's time for a barbecue. I'm just going to walk around there, and we're going to have a look at the Orion as I walk back that way. So I'm just going to walk past the BBQ. And not busy inside, but very busy on the outside. Lots of people already having a meal out or a drink. Well, I think this is probably enough for me. I've got to go do some shopping, so I'm going to head back. So I need to get my lunch ready for tomorrow. He's just saying to me, mind the step. Yeah, thank you, darling. Here's the ice cream. not having ice cream tonight. But just wanted to come down here just so we can have a look to see what progress has been made on the Orion bar, which has been being gutted, and lots of work has been going on getting it ready. And so it'll be interesting to see. I can't remember, it must be a week at least since we were here. And so progress moves on quite well in a week. You can see the Three Brothers is typically very busy. Cross over. I don't think it's going to be called Pub Orion anymore. It's going to be changing its name and be changing its format. So the doors have been replaced. Lots of work on outside and inside. Still a fair bit to do by the looks of things, but people are still working on it now. It's coming up to 8 o'clock in the evening, still working. You could see the bar before, and that's already looking good. Well done for doing all of that. Can't wait to see it when it's finished. So normally I'd be walking along here and having to pause every now and again because I need to be in a shop. She's doing a shopping in Yeovil at the moment, Somerset. She's already bought her shoes.
Oh.
Hello.
Oh, do you know we wanted to see you?
Well, there you go. Well, that was really nice. See the couple actually staying at the Tropico, and they started by telling me how horrible the room was in the Tropico, and she'd taken lots of photographs. And anyway, she went down to the reception and said, "This is terrible. Here are the photographs, and this is the room. It's not clean. It's not safe. So you can just walk over the balcony, and not really happy with it at all." And they managed to find them another room in the hotel, which is a little bit higher, so it's much safer and is spotlessly clean, she says. And so they're now very happy, and they've got another week or so in the Tropico. So hopefully they'll enjoy the rest of the holiday now, and not have to worry somebody hopping over the balcony. So we've been past here a few times and looked at the carousel and the bungee jumping thing. What's it? It seems to have been joined by the trampolines now. I can't remember that being there before. I could have missed it there. Just delicious. Ice creams and coffee shop, that sounds good. All these places coming to life now, and hopefully people are going to be making a little bit of money to see them through next winter. It's really hard for businesses here. Businesses pretty much closed down at the end of October, or at least they have done in recent times, because the hotels closed, the airlines stopped ringing. Maybe things will change. They want to extend the season to beyond the end of October. There's no reason why it shouldn't go into November, or even all the way through as it used to do when we first came here. It was an all year round resort. It's in recent years it's started at Easter and finished at the end of October. It's all good news though, and for the tourist sector, the hotels pretty much are fully booked during the summer. So if you haven't got a hotel booking, you might find it a little bit difficult. The papers were saying today that many of the hotels have just stopped taking bookings now, and hopefully that means that they're full and not overbooked, because that used to be an issue here in Mallorca years ago. There was cases of overbooking. But that means that the island's going to be very full. There are knock-on consequences of that, of course. You need more cars, more buses. The buses that take you from the airport to the hotel are the same buses that are used to take people around, locals around. So if we want to go on a trip, you might hire one of those coaches. And schools in particular have been hit because at this time of the year schools would be taking groups on trips at the end of the year, and they're finding it very difficult to find coach companies with coaches available to take anybody anywhere. So lots of end of year travel, school trips have had to be cancelled, which is a consequence. 5 to 8 now, so people in the hotels having their dinner, and they'll be coming out just as I'm leaving. Some people are still out having a drink, or they're already out. They're suggesting that the temperatures are going to go up starting tomorrow. So Thursday, Friday, hot weekend. I'm going to have to plan my next few days carefully. So actually Thursday and Friday, well Thursday I'm at school all day, Friday I'm on at school in the morning. But tomorrow, Thursday, I do have something planned for the evening. I'm actually going back to Real Mallorca for a presentation, and it's two of the players that have been with the club for quite a while, seen us through thick and thin. It's Manolo and Salva Sevilla, and they've been two real stalwarts of the team. Done a great job. I particularly like Salva Sevilla, very talented player, but he's now in the twilight years of his career, and time to move on, I suppose. So good things do come to an end. But he's managed to sign for another team. In fact, he's signed for Alaves, a team that have just been demoted, but are going to be, are being managed by our former manager, former trainer, Luis Garcia. And so he'll fit in really well there. He's an excellent player with great eye for the ball. And Manolo Reina, goalkeeper, arrived about the same time as Salva Sevilla, and has also seen us through thick and thin, but again he's coming towards the end of his career, and he's moving back, if reports are correct, to his hometown of Malaga, and I'm sure he's got a few more years in him yet, particularly if he's playing in the second division. So tomorrow night the club is organising a thank you down at Son Moix, the ground, and so I'm going to go along with Monroe and say thank you to them. I think they've done a great job. It's also gives us an opportunity to see what progress has been made with the remodelling of the stadium. So our football stadium, Son Moix, was built as an athletics stadium for the Student Olympic Games, and because it's an athletics stadium rather than a football stadium, it's got a running track all the way around it, which means that the fans are really far too far away from the pitch, from the play. So for years now there have been different suggestions and different attempts of what to do. One suggestion was actually to turn the pitch around 90 degrees and then bring the ends in closer. Another suggestion was to build some temporary stands, and that was actually done. So the ultras have all got their own temporary stand now at the north end of the stadium, which brings them a little bit closer to the pitch. The rest of us are miles away, so you've got this athletic track all the way around the outside. Imagine at the ends you've got the big D of the athletics track, which means you're miles away from the action. So all of that is now starting to change. Some money came from different sources, and the people who own the club have already been putting lots of money in. So we're now actually going to get those changes put into action, and we should be able to see some progress being made when we go to the stadium tomorrow night. I'm going to do it in phases. So it's the south side of the sunny side that's going to be done first, and this sort of had to partially demolish what's there already and then rebuild it so that it's much closer. And they say that some of the people will be sitting as close as 7.5 meters away from the pitch, which is great. So this is the hotel that's causing the bit of a fuss, and nobody's ever said it's a luxury hotel. It's always been described as a basic one, and a couple I've just spoken to said they knew that when they booked it, that it was basic. But this was not just basic. The room that they were in was dirty and really not very nice at all. But they now have a new room which has a interesting view, and they're much happier with that. But it's still in the same hotel, so they're not moved hotels. They've just got a different room, and it's much cleaner, they say. So, well, I don't know why all rooms can't be clean. Why can't they just? They've had lots of time to do all the repair work and get everything ready. And cleaning is something that needs to be done on a daily basis. So come on, Tropico, you need to pull your socks up. They a couple who have been here many times before, and they say how much they like the Santa Lucia and the San Matias. They couldn't get in there this time, so they had to go for the Tropico. Another family who wrote to me said that they tried Nova e-Tapa and what fantastic tapas they had. Really enjoyed it. Not open at the moment, but certainly a place that Anita and I will go back to, because it's nice, good value for money, good food, something we enjoy. Thursday is taken care of. I now just need to work out what I'm going to be doing over the weekend, starting on Friday. So one of the things I do is just to trawl through the newspapers, particularly the Spanish newspapers, and see if there's any fairs or festivals or anything that catches my eye, really. So I'll be having a look when I get home, see what's going on. I still haven't found a good site. What they've been trying to promote is a thing called Visit Mallorca. When you go to Visit Mallorca, it takes you actually to Majorca.es. And yes, there are some things there. It has got a calendar. It's got some things which are totally out of date. I think that somewhere like Mallorca would have somebody who's employed full time and can actually keep these things going and up to date, and gathering information from not just Palma and Palmanova and these sorts of places, the whole island. There's stuff going on all the time, and it just seems sad that you don't know about it until it's happened sometimes. Maybe that's a retirement job for me to do. Ooh, wow. Something really strange happened here. Post-COVID, workers got stopped during the season. So Blau, which used to be the newspaper shop across the road, became derelict, and the bar that was next to it, which is the Miramar, and well, they're undergoing some massive change right next to the Promenade, the Beehive being one of our favourite stops for a drink. So, but normally during the summer months, work has to stop. Not now. It seems that the rules have changed, and the workers are allowed to carry on working during the summer months. It's not really good for tourists, but I suppose things haven't been done for 2 years, then still got a bit of catching up. I've nearly done my full circle. If Anita was with me, she'd be telling me how many steps I've done. Probably not enough. See one of the yachts out in the distance. That is huge. I'm wondering if that's Geffen's. One of these evenings I'll actually come out with my big camera and big zoom camera, and do some pictures of some of these these yachts. It starts around this time of year. We start to get the rich and famous joining us here in Mallorca, and some have already arrived, and well, rich but famous, well, I suppose that depends in what circles and what interests you have. Quite a few of the footballers and managers around. Guardiola was mentioned in the paper today, and Jurgen Klopp apparently was having dinner Modigliani just down the road here last night or the night before. You never know who you're going to bump into. most people are now off the beach. The beds have been tidied up. The beach will be thoroughly cleaned before tomorrow morning, or tomorrow morning when new sunbathers come out. Well, that was a really nice walk, even if Anita wasn't with me. Nice to meet the couples that we saw along the way, and hope they're all going to have a lovely holiday. Probably by the time I come down to Palmanova again, Anita will be back and we'll be able to have a walk together. Thanks very much for watching. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Bye for now.